Silicon Valley is pretty spread out. You don't see a lot of density. But think about what you pay per square foot. And if you look at what's in that square foot, it's like nothing. Right? We're like paying for floor space. You know, the whole bedroom is like named after this piece of furniture that sits there doing nothing. This is why I joke about floor people and ceiling people. Like, floor plans are like these bad plans, like you've essentially designed using 2D all over the world. When you put this full thing in 3D, there's a whole world to explore there. So this is the mission. San Francisco, it's kind of like really historic neighborhood. I think it's kind of the epitome of housing crisis too. You'll see this old Hispanic neighborhood, like beautiful murals and all that, and then very high, unaffordable rent, extremely dense buildings. So it's kind of this juxtaposition of like two things coming together with housing crisis. And yeah, they've kind of welcomed us into the neighborhood. This is our studio and engineering playground. It's a lot of combination of generation of like robots and furniture. This gives you a sense of like what's possible in a small footprint place. This unit is 325 square foot. And generally when you look at like square footage like that, it's like such a compromised living, right? Here, it truly becomes like full 3D living. So we have 10-foot ceiling here. We take about a foot in the ceiling. That's kind of standard. Yeah, it's funny that every square meter we build, we add up operating, heating, cooling, mortgage, taxes, all this, like you're constantly paying for it. Why do you pay for all this volume and don't use it? Like we unlock it. So here you'll see some combination of newer hardware, newer software, and some are like still being tested. So, you know, storage is like such a problem, right? Like, I mean, just there's so much stuff that accumulates inside the home. You're like, your like winter clothes, and then all your socks here. But when you need them instantly. So when you don't need them, they're out of the way. I mean, our stuff gets used like every day. Every module gets used every day. The beauty of Bumblebee is you don't have to remember where your stuff is. So every time you store something, there's an image taken. And it also keeps a history of it. So when your things got in and got out, there's a history of it. So you're like, oh yeah, that's when I put my polka dot socks in there or whatever. So your stuff is kind of searchable digitally, and there's a time record of it. We call this time travel, this feature. You can literally go back in time and search for your things. You also have deeper modules. So that one, if you have certain areas where you don't mind impinging on the ceiling locally, you can bring down like hanging clothes or shoe racks, helmets, whatever you want to store.
What do you mean if you don't mind impinging on the ceiling locally?
So, you know, here you can see the ceiling's a little bit lower compared to the rest of the area. And it could be like you've put like a bench here to tie your shoes. So whatever, you can double up the utility here. Like, you know, some places you don't mind giving up the ceiling height. This is like hallway, literally you're in and out. And we have a luggage rack Bumblebee with these closet style Bumblebees, and they're all like kind of built on the same robotics platform. And they just go away and then boom, space opens up. I'll send them both up. Oh. So if it's swaying, it gives me a warning and it takes time, like they stagger. Yeah, the units are like very self-aware if there is motion around it or whatever, so it only goes up when it's safe to do it, right? So we kind of, it's engineered for like self-awareness around it.
So all this space is just space that wasn't used.
Yeah, and you know, this also becomes like office. So you can just like sit here, you can put your large screen here, your computer, and when you're done working, Just like close this, put it away. These are all modular. You can add and remove as needed.
What I'm noticing this time is also the really tight tolerance the furniture has. For example, now, as you're dropping this one, I don't know what's the space you have here is pretty like precise, pretty tight.
Right.
And it does it, despite the fact that you don't have any rigidity.
Right. Yes, because of the sensors. We use the sensors are aware of where the units are in like space, right? And that makes it so powerful. We can just land it exactly where we want. And if it is unsafe, we don't move. When you're getting ready, you can just have all your storage around you. And because they're modular, some are like larger units, like this could be like kitchen cabinetry, pots, pans. Yeah, this could be like when you're cooking, it's like perfect. Like there's your island, all your pots and pans. These are like some of the prototypes, but we are working on pantry modules, which kind of integrate right into the ceiling. And you can see the smaller units, they move a lot faster. Bring these down. So most people interact with Bumblebee through voice. So it's really kind of poetic, like the way interactions happen. So yeah, like when you're getting ready, you can see like this place is like fully
The forest sort of furniture.
right. Yeah.
Do you have anybody walking in here and say, well, okay, this is not a render. I thought this was some sort of stunt, like
Render, yes.
It's real.
Yes,
They come here and
right.
say,
And not only that, it's real. Like there's real people living in it, right? Which is kind of the way I think about future is building this platform which it'll expand into every part of your home. And of course, in the night, it's a bedroom. So the new bed has feet. It deploys, like it's got like this spacecraft aluminum. And here too, you can see the precision. It lands exactly in the access area. You know, because there's depth sensors sweeping under the units constantly, we know exactly where to land it. Sensors and what we do with sensors makes it so powerful. We can just land it exactly where we want. And if it is unsafe, we don't move. As it's coming down, if I just like get in its path, it just pauses, you know, like, and then as I get out of the path, yeah. So yeah, like if I get in its path, just pauses, takes a second. We're kind of standing on the shoulder of some of the amazing work in robotics that's happened. So if you see kind of our motor, transmission, controllers, this is our sensor. We call this the Mandalorian helmet. It's sweeping under the unit constantly. This is Bumblebee's computer. There's a lot of power electronics, all the sensors come into it, all the communication happens through this. We developed this ground up. The reason we were able to develop this is because the world of robotics has evolved in a way where we can take kind of precision brushless DC motors. We can control every 1/10 of a degree precisely, exactly where things want to move. We can break it, we can stop it, it's with such high precision that we're now able to create this amazing user experience. This is our engineering workshop. You'll see like a lot of kitting, inventory, final assembly, a lot of testing. Yeah, these are all like modules we test. You know, that's a desk module. And then storage, bed. And here you can see like these are, bed has its own deployable feet. And they're all passively actuated. So it's just, there's a spring damper system that kind of brings it down and made of anodized aluminum. And here, this is like new lighting too. Like you'll see there's no plastic in our system. Everything's kind of integrated.
I would never have thought that a bed would just remind me of an airplane landing.
It's like the Falcon wings, the landing gear.
And how strong are these?
Oh yeah, you can jump on it. We do 1,000 pounds. We do all kinds of jumping tests on this. It takes a lot of load. And you can see the install too is very straightforward. We can go into any ceiling. This is one of our modules. It's built like a power tool. It's built for scale. So you can pump out thousands of these on a single line. And every one of our modules work on the same drivetrain, same electromechanical systems. So you have motor, transmission, and this is kind of our own transmission design. Then there are these spools. The spools are kind of like, the closest to what you can think of is the seatbelt spool. Like when you pull the seatbelt down, they spool, and then they lock when you're seeing like high force or high velocity, things like that. Then they kind of go over these, we call them nodes. And these nodes also work as hooks. So when you have your I-beams in the ceiling, these nodes kind of take all the load of the robot itself. It's kind of like Kevlar, this material. It's very high strength webbing that we developed also. We test it with all kinds of loads. The module, it's very simple. We remove as much mass as possible while keeping all the strength, stiffness. It has to work well in shaky, let's say there's an earthquake, let's say there's a fire, whatever. Like we engineer for all these cases. So it's built for as robust, reliable as possible. So once it's up there, it's not coming down.
What's the stress test on these guys?
This is actually our own weave. It's very similar to Kevlar. It is crazy strong. On these, we do some crazy tests.
We're locked and loaded.
So each one can lift a couple Ford F-150s.
Devin, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling like a winner.
Sank, how are we feeling today?
I think if he's gonna pull me too much, I'll have to ask him to stop.
Yep.
So we had all these requirements and we tested a whole lot of options.
Holy shit.
We're intact, baby.
That was insane. It was scary.
Let's say you decide to buy another home.
Yeah, so install, uninstall is actually very simple. So this module literally slides out and you can see these openings. And so you can take these out with very little effort. I mean,
What's it comparable to? What uses that track system?
it's similar to like, you might see like garage doors have these tracks. It's very similar to that. And they're all like anchored to using these Hilti anchors in the ceiling. If you want to take the whole system off, we've done that in like a couple hours. This is all running on low voltage. You don't even need like electrical system, nothing.
What do you mean by that? It's running on low voltage, like?
One outlet. You just plug in and the whole system's live.
Because how is that possible? It seems like a lot of load.
No, it's not a lot of load. At peak, we only draw like 300 watts, 340 watts.
Everything's going.
We don't move all at the same time, so we can move two at a time.
Okay.
I mean, we deliberately like hold that back. Okay. So this can be like a sit-stand desk, by the way. Like you can, and it gets stabilized using a magnet. Something like this gets mounted to the wall, and this is kind of like magnetically tethers in XY. So it only holds it from moving, swaying.
And how do you unlock when it's...
Like in Z, it has no strength. Yeah, that's the beauty of magnets. In this axis, it just like slides out. One of the things with Bumblebee is also the ability to, you're able to see what you're storing. It automatically recognizes objects. So here we've been testing object recognition. So you can see hammer. When did that enter into our unit? You can kind of see that. The other kind of magic of Bumblebee, it's dynamic. You can search for your things like you search Google. So I can say, Bumblebee, my hammer. So we use Siri Kit and boom, that came down. So it knows exactly where my hammer was stored last. And there's my hammer. So you don't have to remember where you put your things. This whole home becomes like searchable.
So how about if there's no hammer, somebody just took it out of the...
Yeah, it'll tell you like last known, like it was last stored in this bin. Yeah, because it's got a history.
Is your system going to improve because of people using it?
Absolutely. So now we're able to do, for example, sleep tracking. So we can tell you how much sleep you got over a week.
It's beyond furniture.
Exactly. Oh, it's way beyond furniture. Yeah. I mean, truly, like there's like nothing special about this is a box. It's beautiful, all that. It's a dumb box. There's no magic in this. All the magic is in the software, right? So the real magic of Bumblebee is the fact that it'll become this self-organizer for your home. In the cloud, you can search for your things. It remembers your stuff. It remembers when you use, what you use. It remembers what you don't use. Essentially, it's giving you space, but creating this amazing user interface unlike anything. So this building, when you buy a condo, the Bumblebee is offered as an upgrade.
So what kind of buildings does this work for?
We work with all kinds of building, but this one,
It's modern.
it's modern. We have some really old concrete construction build, all kinds of buildings. This is a little bit older hardware. The thing is, we only put between 15 to 18 pounds per square foot of load. So it's very low on the ceiling. So, like the building codes have like up to certain load you can put for these fixtures and furniture. And this is like a 9-foot ceiling, concrete. So it's like a most typical multifamily unit. Again, you can use voice to talk to this. There's also this console, which actually works really cool as a nightstand. But we're not floor furniture people. Unless it makes sense for the whole system, we're mostly sticking to the ceiling. These storage, it's all on a grid. So they're all on a aspect ratio. There is like a, we call this a double wide. So because it's like there's a typical grid that we go into, and they're all a 4:3 ratio, and they stem from this queen bed being 4:3 ratio, and everything kind of snaps to a grid. And because of that, we can like add these organizers inside that are also on that same grid. So they kind of become integral part of, so you can kind of like arrange it as needed, kind of like division inside your units to like organize. So you can kind of see, it helps you stay organized just by default. And you can see like it's taking images, basically like a static view of your objects. And once you start personalizing it, you'll start seeing like, oh, where did I store my stuff? And you can just enable, disable. So if I give you permission to like, okay, you can sleep in this bed and use one storage, and I can lock these two away, Face ID, and only turn it on when I need it. So you can do, it's all kind of digital safe, but it's like a cache in the ceiling.
This place is hard to imagine without these, actually.
I know, right? Normally people would couch on that side, TV on this side. So that's like, there's a meeting table. And check out like kind of the simplicity of the install too, right? One outlet. This is all that's powering the whole Bumblebee.
And it's also not scary.
Yeah, we do like these tests, right? Yeah, so if I get in the unit, it just like, you see, like I don't have to touch it, like the sensors like instantly like sense me, and I get out of the space, it continues by itself. I have to do nothing here. So yeah, and even like let's say tiny toddler gets in there, just pauses, or a pet gets in there. Yeah. Yeah, it's the sensors are very, they pick up on millimeters of precision. You can see how quiet it is. It's getting even quieter. It was a little older gen.
Design-wise, I also appreciate the fact because there is the technology that goes with it. But design-wise, you seem to be evolving understanding that is something that you cannot deliver in a computer science
Totally.
framework.
Yeah. Like I think, when you made the first video, there's a whole bedroom that's in the ceiling. It was just like hacked together robots. I don't know if he's made the bed, so it was different. But now I can talk to you about end grain veneer and joinery for days because we care about it so much. We learned a lot about furniture making. With the new one, there's no gap here. We're not just a furniture company, but furniture is the thing that users interact with. Even the lighting, we care about how the lighting shadow is. So you can have a fully bright light. This is if you're watching a movie, whatever. So our modules have lighting, and we really don't like if the shadow of the straps were like just falling all over the wall. So you don't really see it. This is from outside you're seeing that light, but our lights, you cannot see shadow of the strap on that wall. We don't want you to see like a forest of shadow. And it's down only for a few seconds that you're using it, but those few seconds it needs to be magic. So bed has its own kind of this shroud lighting. It's funny, like anywhere adding another room costs more than Bumblebee, anywhere. And there's the furniture value, there's the software value, and then there's the space value. So you can just turn off that light, only turn on this light. You can control it. Like now we have some really interesting people living in it. Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, they live in a Bumblebee, they're in a beach home, really cool, and they host, and every time they're like, people blow, like they're mind blown every time they see this, right? So it's really cool. We have the world's shortest professional basketball player, lives in a Bumblebee, and everything comes to his level. Mani Love is really cool.
Bumblebee my desk.
Oh, wow.
And it magnetically is tethered to the wall. These strips kind of work as just steel attachment, and they're like magnetically tethered.
So it doesn't wiggle, is that right?
Right, yeah, it's stable. So if I try to move it, it's stable. And on the way up, and you can just leave all your work as is. Hey Siri, make space. All right. Sometimes Siri gives us trouble. It's okay, it's got enough room there, it's just gonna stay. You can just leave all your stuff as is, and there's also storage. Hey Siri, Bumblebee my storage.
Okay, done.
Siri has an accent.
Yeah, it's
There's this poppet thingy where you just pop a
Do you know what's in here? I mean, do you know, or do you have to look at the phone, or how do you know where your stuff is?
Yeah. You can just look at what's in it on the phone. You can see what happens today, and then you can go back to like other times of the day, and you can go back to. You can see it's kind of like a security camera, and you can scroll through all the things that happen like different days.
So you can find things, right?
Yeah, it's just like we call it time travel. Time travel.
okay.
Sending it up.
Yeah, so there's a wall control panel too. So that's how Lola sent it up.
So this is how you lower the desk or raise the desks. This is how you lower and raise the storage, and this is how you lower and raise the bed. Bumblebee my bed.
Okay,
Do you surprise people with that? Like, what do your friends think? Do you ever show them?
Well, they see the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
You always
So if you have people over, you guys use it?
Yeah, when we have guests over, and the kids are eventually going to be they share a room now.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to be in their own room, so one of them will have this room. So it'll be good.
Oh, it's going up. Okay.
The room was like unusable before. I mean, just it had a bed in it. We rarely used it when people come to stay. But now, I mean, they have a whole nother room to just play and have their own space.
Oh, look at that. So now she can use the floor. So before this, the room was, I mean, I guess you would have it for one purpose.
Yeah,
Like before you just
dead space. I mean, the bed took up most of the room.
Bumblebee my desk.
There. I had a desk in here against the wall, and I would always have to move it based on the lighting. I like to stand for most of the. Yeah. Yeah. This is it.
So you have it set up exactly how you want.
Yeah.
It's a preset.
Yep. So I've got my
Daddy
laptop
loves-
here, whatever.
Daddy
And I used to have to do, I'd put like a
Daddy
ring
loves-
light to get good
Daddy
lighting, and
loves-
now it's like perfect. Perfect lighting.
Is there a daddy mode?
And you can also choose to do sitting mode.
You can choose to do
Right?
sitting.
So you're here all day.
Yeah. Yeah, this is.
Wow. And before you had a bed in here and tried to put a desk in, or you just.
We had a desk that would go, you know, the bed would be here. There was like no room here. I would have the desk on that wall, and then whenever during the day when I would need it, I'd move it to like the center, you know, as close as I could get, yeah. And then like sit there so I could get the good lighting.
We used to hide behind.
Yeah, there was like no room to walk in here. There was, the bed was
We
almost
hid
blocking
behind the
closet.
bed. Wait, the bed. Make space.
So before this is a guest bedroom, or was it?
Guest
It was-
bedroom slash just overflow. The kids, they have their bedroom, but whenever they have friends over, they would just kind of naturally come in here to have more space. And so they'd end up just playing on the bed and stuff, and then have all their stuff everywhere. So this just makes it so much easier.
So this setup is probably not happening too often, but I guess you could climb across. There you go.
They do that sometimes. Yeah.
The bed, we only really need to use it when we have people that are staying, you know, that are, I mean, we've got an extra room, but when there's, you know, our grandparents, my father-in-law lives in India, he would come and stay for a long time. My parents are with us for a couple of months, so, you know, we would use it a couple times a year,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Okay. Who wants to set it up?
Oh, me. But the camera's still there.
It's not hard. You just have to press and hold.
For 12 seconds.
So what's the height here in the room?
This is 8. I think just shy of 8. So after install, it's like 7.
So this is a pretty conventional room you could have even
Yeah.
in one apartment.
These are like these ranch style homes. So these are very common in California, right? So this ceiling height is, you know, for single family homes, this is fairly common, yeah. But in multifamily, when we go, we get like another foot. So which is like, that's why you can't touch it. Like here, I can touch it with my hands up.
So this is probably the lowest ceiling.
This is
you
the
find.
lowest ceiling, yeah,
And
exactly.
it still feels fine. Like I'm very
Yeah.
tall and there's
Right.
plenty of room.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, the integration with HomePod, so HomePod recognizes only my voice.
So wait, why did it work before? Because they were doing.
I gave my phone, so I gave them the permission. So if I take it away, like they get no access.
Okay.
And I can say, okay, desk and crafts. Let's say it's locked, and boom, it's locked. So if anybody tries to lower it,
Bumblebee my desk.
Nothing happens.
There are no accessories in the Bumblebee that support that action.
yeah, it just
That's
locks
a
it
no.
away. Hey Siri, Bumblebee my desk.
Okay, done.
Lucky.
So once you lock it, it just locks it away. We have a really cool app. So the way it works is you do a scan like this. You can just scan your home using your phone, and then we'll show you what Bumblebee can do to your room. So you see how it's capturing the room, the grid. Once you complete it, so yeah, you're supposed to get all the open areas.
White stuff.
And
trying to
yeah,
fit
it fits it stitches the whole thing, and you upload the scan, and that goes to, and then you can like add Bumblebee modules. And this is, you know, like for example, these units, as you add modules, it kind of like lights up automatically. You can just like keep adding to it. Some of the additional ones, let's say I want to add 2 more storage here, which we may, like we can just like,
Then we'll never be able to squeeze here and you'll have to move all this stuff. Can you do
Another-
another desk so that I'll have my
There.
personal privacy?
And you want a sideways.
Maybe I'll put my desk there there too, so I can keep bugging you. Or how about you keep your desk there, and I'll keep my desk here, and I'll put 12 closets, and I'll keep 12 closets surrounding a boundary wall around my desk, so you can't get through.